Hey guys, it's Blue Eyes Master 91, and I thought I would do a Volcanics update. And this deck is something I really enjoyed playing as a pure deck, but thanks to the Megatons that came out back in late September, early October, I believe, I was able to change it up a little bit and make something kind of fun and very toxic to very many people. So let's dive in. So, first things first, I only am running a single copy of Emperor, a single copy of Hammerer, and then our 3 Trooper. These haven't, the quantity has changed, but the reason behind them has not. Emperor is still a phenomenal boss monster in the main deck. Next, we still have our 3 copies of Scattershot, our 3 copies of Rimfire, and then 2 copies of Shell. I dropped Shell down to 2 just because I kept burning myself so much to get that 3rd copy, and I realized that it really was not needed. And then we have 2 copies of Volcanic Rocket, just for the maximum number of fire monsters that can be in the graveyard. Next, we have 3 copies of the Volcanic Blaze Accelerator, and then 1 copy of the original. That's just for the simplicity. And then we have 2 copies of Fire Ejection. So, you can add a 2nd copy of Blaze Accelerator, and it really would not change the dynamic of the deck. But it just is very difficult to do that unless you increase the size of the deck or find a way to take something else out. Then we have 3 copies of the fantastic Fire Recovery spell. I would recommend this in any deck that utilizes fire, so whether it's the Volcanic build, Salamangreats, or even Snake Eyes, which I will be doing a video for probably in the new year. We then get into our secondary engine. So let's dive into it. It is the Runic engine. So we have 3 copies of Tip, 3 copies of Freezing Curses, 3 copies of Flashing Fire, and then 2 copies of our Fountain. With the Runic cards, if I were to decrease the number of them, I would definitely drop Freezing Curses and Flashing Fire both down to 2. So that way I could fit in stuff like an Ash or Imperm or Dark Ruler, since this deck has absolutely 0 hand traps. We do have a single copy of Allure, though. 2 copies of Destruction, 1 Slumber, and then 1 Dispelling. Not a lot to be said about this. It's hard to explain on why I have the ratios I have for some of them. And again, I'm not going into a lot of details on what these do because the Volcanic cards have been out for a while. If you want to know what each one of those do, please go ahead and check out my last Volcanic deck profile. I believe that's up on YouTube. And then for the Runic stuff, Runic has been in the meta as a rogue deck on and off over the last few years. So I don't feel like I need to really go into a lot of detail on what those do. Basically, the entire point of the Runic deck is to deck out your opponent, while the entire point of my Volcanic stuff is to burn your opponent. So you're basically employing 2 of the best strategies in the game in a single deck. Decking your opponent out and then burning them up. The one card I do not have in this deck that I do wish I did would be 3 copies of DD Dynamite. And DD Dynamite is a fantastic trap card because if your opponent has 28 cards banished, you win the game. DD Dynamite is fantastic in any runic deck because it gives you wins. And I know a lot of people have found that and are using it in their runic builds. The final spell card in the deck, however, is a Harpy's Feather Duster, followed by 3 trap cards. Volcanic Inferno, Blaze Accelerator Reloaded, and then Spiritual Fire Art Kurenai. Kurenai in the original build I went with won me a lot of games because all I had to do was take my copy of Emperor, send it away with the effect of the trap card, and I get to burn my opponent for 3,100 points of damage after Emperor has burned them for damage. So it is a phenomenal trap card in this deck. And I would recommend Spiritual Art Kurenai in a lot of fire-based decks because it lets you burn your opponent. Getting into the extra deck, we have a single copy of Hitta, the Fire Charmer Ablaze. We do have a copy of Unchained Abomination because Abomination is fantastic. We have IP Masquerena, Axis Code Talker, I'll rotate those, a single copy of Sunlight Wolf, a single copy of Borreload Savage Dragon, and then a single copy of Salamangreat Elmirage. Continuing on, we do have a copy of Zeroboros because why not? It's fantastic in this deck and it'd be very easy to summon. Link Karibo, Relinquish Anima, and then Underworld Goddess. The extra deck really hasn't changed much. I've played around with using cards like Pot of Prosperity to help with the consistency of the deck. And that is something I'm going to continue to look into and continue to play with. But at this time, I will likely not have them in the deck anytime soon. At the time of recording this, I am recording this video on November 12th, even though it will not go up until I want to say the end of November. I will probably not be running this deck for a little bit with FedEx getting into peak season and that being my current job. I will not be getting a lot of sleep, and as a result, I will likely not be going to my locals until the new year. That said and done, let's finish off the extra deck with the 4 runic monsters of the extra deck. 2 copies of Moonin and 2 copies of Huggin. Moonin lets you gain 2,000 life points during every end phase, as well as if you, upon summon, if you discard something, you can add a lure to your hand. Oh, excuse me. And then Huggin, similarly, upon summoning it, if you discard a card, you can add Runic Fountain to your hand. But that is it for this deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go ahead and drop a like and subscribe if you did. And I will catch you guys in the next video. See ya.